This video is part of the series on how to set up an event for the BCG Event Manager. After you have created your event, added hotels, and also entered all of the rooms in a certain hotel, you should hit Configure Hotels to make sure that you're on the hotel editing screen. Find the hotel that you need to put room capacities in for, in my case the Westin Lone Star, and click on Edit. Here I am at the hotel that I set up earlier, the Westin Lone Star in Austin, Texas, and the rooms that I entered, Linden, Maple, Meal Area, and Oak, are sorted for me, shown alphabetically on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, you can see the room capacities, and this is what we want to set up now. You can set up room capacities by clicking in one of these boxes and entering a number. For example, if I wanted the Oak room, when configured with the chair set up hollow squares, to have 55, a capacity of 55 people in it, I could come and enter the 55. You'll see that the yellow square has disappeared because it's no longer warning me that I have no capacity in the Oak room for hollow square. Also, the yellow square, the yellow triangle over here on the left-hand side has vanished because my default daily setup is now viable. So as long as you have yellow triangles, something is wrong, and you should continue to examine the screen. So let's proceed to doing this in batch, though. Even though I can set them one at a time, that's very inconvenient. And it's much more convenient to import the capacity data from, for example, an Excel spreadsheet. You can also import from a Google Documents spreadsheet, and that's what I'm going to do for this example, but it's essentially exactly the same. So, to import the capacity data for all of these rooms at once, I will click on the Import Capacity Data button. It will give a couple interesting warnings. One is, make sure you've made all the rooms before you start importing capacities. And second, make sure that the room names in your spreadsheet are exactly the same as the data shown here on the room setup screen. So I'm going to click Import Now to continue. And this large box that you can see, the large blank box, this is where you're going to paste the data. I'll show you how. First, I'm going to go over to my spreadsheet called the Westin Lone Star Room Capacity Spreadsheet. And I'm going to highlight the area in the spreadsheet that's interesting, that contains, in the left column, my room names exactly as they appear inside the Event Manager app, and with the exact same abbreviations along the top for each type of room. So this is U-shaped squares, this is banquet rounds, this is crescent rounds with 6 chairs, and this is hollow square. You don't have to have every single kind of setup in your spreadsheet. You can see I've only got 4 types of setup. I could have more. They don't have to be in any particular order either, as you'll see later. But you do have to make sure that your room names are the same. So I've highlighted this area of the spreadsheet, and I'm going to select Copy. I'm going to return to the Event Manager, and I'm going to paste that data. So you can see the lines look a little bit uneven and strange. That's normal. Now we're on to step 2, choosing the column names. The first column, for your convenience, really should always be the room name. And you can see that the Oak Room, Linden Room, Maple Room, and Meal Area 1 appear to be registering as valid and correct room names. If I had only put Linden and not Linden Room, or if I had Linden ROM as a typo, it would not be accepted as a valid data field. Also notice that this very first line, which says blank line and has a big red bar here, these are the headings for my columns. It's good that this importer is ignoring them. They're only there for my reference. And I'll give you an example. this US reminds me that I need to make the column heading also be US, which I will do. And you can see now that the numbers are white instead of grayed out. I'm going to do the same for each column. I need to tell the program, hey, this is the column for banquet rounds, this is the column for crescent round of 6, and this is the column for hollow square. There it is. Okay, now all my columns are not gray, they're white. All of my room names are in, and I can see the word OK in this column. If something was wrong, this column is what describes what's going wrong in that line. And I can choose which rooms to keep and import and which not to. For example, if I didn't want to import the Linden room, I could simply uncheck it, and Linden room would no longer be imported. But I do want all of these. So now it's time for me to move on to the next step and say import now to actually import all the results. Before I do that, you should notice that for the oak room, I had set hollow squares to be 55. But because I'm importing data, that's going to be overwritten. And it was, with the number 16. And you can see all the numbers have come in. Banquet rounds, crescent rounds of 6, hollow square, and U-shaped tables and chairs. That's it. The capacity importing is done. I can now click Save, and I have capacities for all the rooms in the Westin Lone Star. Thank you for watching this video. The next video will talk about how to arrange the rooms on the grid and publish meeting time.